A human mechanic rescued a chained alien dog, abandoned on a broken alien ship. The distress beacon was old, barely a whisper against the void. Most ships would have ignored it, written it off as space debris or a malfunctioning relay. But Jax Renner wasn't most people. He'd been drifting through the Outer Rim for 3 months, taking odd jobs, patching hulls, and keeping his head down. When the signal pinged on his scanner, something in his gut told him to investigate. The ship was a wreck, a Valdrin cargo hauler by the looks of it, spinning slowly in the darkness like a dying star. Its hull was scorched, pockmarked with micrometeorite impacts. No life support, no power. Jax maneuvered his salvage rig alongside and suited up. Whatever was inside, it had been alone for a long time. The airlock groaned as he forced it open. Inside, the ship was a tomb. Frost clung to the walls and the air was thin, toxic. His helmet display flickered warnings, but Jax ignored them. He'd worked in worse conditions. He moved through the corridors, his boots crunching on frozen debris until he heard it. A sound. Faint, mechanical. A rhythmic clicking like gears grinding against bone. Jax followed the noise to the cargo hold. The door was jammed, rusted shut. He wedged his plasma cutter into the seam and burned through. The metal screamed as it gave way, and the door collapsed inward with a hollow clang. Beyond it, in the darkness, 2 eyes glowed. At first, Jax thought it was a machine. Its body was segmented, covered in plates of dull metal and synthetic flesh. 6 legs, each ending in claws that looked like they could tear through steel. Its head was angular, wolfish, with a jaw that split into 3 mandibles. But when it moved, there was something organic about it. Something alive. The creature was chained to the floor. Thick iron links bolted into the deck plating. It strained against them, its body trembling with the effort, but the chains held. Its eyes locked onto Jax, and for a moment he thought it might lunge. But it didn't. It just stared. Waiting. Jax's hand hovered over his sidearm. He'd heard stories about Valdrin war beasts. Bioengineered killing machines. Bred for combat and abandoned when they outlived their usefulness. This one was massive, easily twice his size. If it wanted him dead, he wouldn't stand a chance. But something stopped him from drawing his weapon. Maybe it was the way the creature's eyes followed him, not with hunger, but with something else. Recognition. Hope. He approached slowly, his hands raised. The creature growled, a low vibrating sound that rattled in his chest. Jax stopped, crouched down, and studied the chains. They were old, corroded, but still strong. Whoever had left this thing here had wanted it to stay. He pulled out his torch and set to work. The creature watched him, its growl fading into a low whine. When the first chain snapped, it flinched. When the second broke, it stood. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then the creature lowered its head, its mandibles clicking softly. Jax reached out, hesitant, and placed a hand on its plated skull. It was cold, ridged, but beneath the metal he could feel warmth. A heartbeat. The creature leaned into his touch and Jax let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. He named it Kiro. Not because it meant anything, but because it felt right. The creature seemed to understand, or maybe it just liked the sound. Either way, it followed him back to his ship without hesitation. Jax rigged up a space in the cargo bay, patched together a makeshift bed from salvaged materials. Kiro circled it once, then curled up, its mechanical joints clicking softly as it settled. For the first few days, Kiro didn't do much. It watched. It listened. It followed Jax around the ship, its claws clicking on the metal floors. Jax tried to work on repairs, but it was hard to focus with a half-ton war beast hovering over his shoulder. Still, he didn't mind. There was something comforting about the company. Then came the pirates. A small crew, nothing serious, but enough to be a problem. They'd been tracking Jax's ship for days, waiting for the right moment to strike. When they boarded, Jax was in the engine room, elbow-deep in coolant lines. He didn't hear them until the alarm started blaring. By then, it was too late. The first pirate made it 3 steps into the cargo bay before Kiro tore him apart. The second didn't even get that far. Jax heard the screams, the grinding of metal, the wet sound of flesh giving way. When he reached the bay, it was over. Kiro stood in the center of the room, its body slick with blood, its eyes still glowing. The pirates were gone. What was left of them, anyway? Jax should have been horrified. He should have been afraid. But all he felt was relief, and maybe a little pride. Kiro looked at him, its mandibles clicking nervously as if waiting for approval. Jax walked over, placed a hand on its head, and said, "Good boy." Kiro's tail, a segmented thing of metal and bone, thumped against the floor. From that day on, they were inseparable. Jax fixed what he could of Kiro's damaged systems, replacing worn-out servos and patching up old wounds. Kiro, in turn, became his shadow, his protector, his friend. People in the stations they visited stared. Some whispered. A few tried to run, but Jax didn't care. He'd spent most of his life alone, drifting from one dead-end job to the next. Now for the first time he had something worth protecting. Months passed. Jobs came and went. Jax and Kiro moved through the outer rim like ghosts, taking work that no one else wanted. Dangerous work, the kind that left scars. But they survived. They always survived, because they had each other. One night, as they drifted through the silence of space, Jax sat in the cockpit staring out at the stars. Kiro lay at his feet, its breathing slow and steady. Jax reached down, scratched behind one of its armored ears, and smiled. He didn't know what the future held. He didn't know where they'd end up. But for the first time in his life, Jax Renner wasn't alone. And that was enough.